The Haki that Gaban just used to cut Sommers is something that we've actually seen before. In fact, it's something that we've seen multiple times throughout the post-time skip. This is not Ryo, this is not Advanced Conqueror's Haki. No, what Gaban just used is something that also answers every single other unexplained Haki ability post-time skip. How are blades made permanently black? How was Joy Boy able to store Haki in a knot for 800 years? How are the Poneglyphs indestructible? The answer to all of these questions just came together with this attack by Gaban on Sommers. Permanent Haki Infusion. It's been staring us in the face all along. Skilled Haki users are able to permanently imbue Haki in a way that its effects never leave. This is how a sword can be made permanently black. This is how a knot can store Haki for 800 years. This is how stone tablets can be made indestructible for a millennium. And this is how you can stop regeneration. We've been seeing the evidence of permanent Haki infusion throughout the post-time skip. Gaban was just the first character to showcase this ability in real-time combat, because countering regeneration has nothing to do with punching harder. We've already seen that that has no effect. Regeneration can logically only be stopped if the effects of Haki never leave the wound. That is the newest level of Haki that has to be mastered by the protagonists. The power to permanently impart Haki. The ability that Joy Boy once had that Luffy will have to learn. The power that Zoro will have to learn if he wants to create permanently black blades. The power that any character who hopes to defeat a God's Knight or a Gorosei will have to learn to counter regeneration. Permanent Haki Infusion. Let's break down how this is an ability that Oda has been hinting at and building up throughout the entire post-time skip, and how it is the clear answer as to how Gaban was able to stop even an immortal soldier from being able to regenerate. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. And we're not just talking about new levels of Haki. You can also level up in Raid Shadow Legends, the sponsor of this video. Raid is a game that you've probably already heard about because it has pretty much endless content. I personally generally don't really play turn-based RPGs because I find everything to be a bit slow. But with Raid, everything just seems to flow easily, and you're constantly unlocking new heroes and going through new campaigns with new dungeons and getting new abilities. And the coolest part about Raid is, of course, the champions, and that's what Raid is offering my viewers. I'm sure many of you know that One Piece and Luffy's story is based off of Sun Wukong and the Journey to the West, and Raid has a legendary champion, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. He fights just like the hero of Journey to the West, using a Staff of Wonder and using tricks like stealing buffs from enemies. If you've heard of Raid and want to see what it's about, you can get this champion immediately when you download the game and use my promo code. Just download Raid with the link in the description or scan my QR code to immediately get a huge starter pack with epic champion Drake from the Lizard faction, another starter pack after reaching level 15 that includes epic champion Tagoar from the Orc faction, and of course the legendary champion Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. In addition, both new and existing players can redeem 2 more promo codes with useful resources. Check other promo codes for all users in the description. Just download Raid with my link in the description or scan my QR code. Come find me under the name Mr. Morge. So to understand what we're being shown right now with Gaban and Sommers, we need to go all the way back to pre-time skip to see the identical parallel scenario between Rayleigh and Kizaru. For the majority of pre-time skip, there was a two-sided mystery that was developing. The fundamental problem of Logias, and this strange, unexplained ability that some characters had that seemed to be separate from Devil Fruits. The fundamental problem of Logias was the ongoing struggle the protagonists faced throughout the first half of One Piece. There was this group of enemies, Logia users, who seemed to be essentially invincible. No matter how physically strong the heroes were, they literally could not deal any sort of damage to Logias, making enemies like Smoker, Crocodile, Enel, Aokiji, and so on seem practically invincible. There was the elemental counter that could be used in specific circumstances, but in a standard fight, a Logia user was unbeatable. The big question that developed over the course of pre-time skip was, how can these Logia users be harmed in straight combat? We knew that there must be some answer because it was clear that there were several characters who seemed to be built up as far stronger than these Logia users. But we had no idea how they would be able to combat Logias. Now this was the first half of the mystery of pre-time skip combat. The second half of the mystery was the unexplained power that seemed to be recurring throughout the story. This power was very subtle and very rarely seen. So subtle in fact that it was difficult to realize that all these mysterious unexplained occurrences were all in fact the same ability. Shanks driving off a Sea King in Chapter 1, the priests of Skypiea being able to predict attacks before they could even happen, as well as sense voices across the island. Characters being able to knock out others just through their presence. We were never told what this ability exactly was until finally the two mysteries came to a head in a specific matchup. Rayleigh versus Kizaru. Kizaru was the embodiment of the Logia problem that we'd been dealing with so far. How could you possibly harm a man made out of light? And on the other side, Rayleigh had just showcased for us yet another example of the mysterious magic that we still didn't understand, knocking out everyone in the auction house. Finally, these two characters met, and Rayleigh demonstrated that he was able to do something that none of the Straw Hats had been able to do so far with physical strength alone. Rayleigh could actually stop Kizaru and even cut him, despite Kizaru being an intangible Logia. As it turned out, that mysterious, unexplained ability that we'd been seeing throughout the story so far was the answer all along to the fundamental Logia problem that the protagonists had been unable to solve up until this point: Haki. This was the hero's next step to becoming stronger. This is what they would need to master from here on. It was time for them to learn the mysterious ability that Oda had been hinting at for so long. And now with Sommers and Gaban, Oda is replaying the exact same scenario. In the post-time skip, a new version of the Logia problem has developed: Regeneration. It's the ability that seemingly all of Imu's top subordinates have. The Gorosei and the God's Knights are all able to perfectly regenerate no matter how much damage is done to them. Unlike with Logias from pre-time skip, the new issue the Straw Hats have with the immortal soldiers is not being unable to make contact with them, it's that the Straw Hats are unable to do any lasting damage to them. Regeneration has essentially become the Logia problem of the post-time skip. Even Luffy is at a loss as to how to actually deal with these types of characters, and is forced to turn away as there's no clear solution to immortality. However, just as we saw with Rayleigh finally being the one to stop Kizaru and unveil the answer to the Logia problem, so too has Gaban just stopped Sommers and unveiled the answer to the regeneration problem. And just like in pre-time skip, the answer was hinted to us all along. Just as pre-time skip, Oda had repeatedly been showing us several instances of some unexplained power that finally turned out to be the key to fighting Logias, looking at post-time skip, it's the same thing. The answer to what Gaban just did is what Oda has already been hinting at throughout post-time skip as well. A mysterious new ability that we have already been getting glimpses of that we are now going to get the explanation of. Think back, in the last several hundred chapters there have been multiple strange instances of Haki that we still don't understand. To begin with, we were told that blades can apparently somehow be turned permanently black, even when the user is no longer putting Haki into it. The question of, how do you make a permanently black blade, has been something that has never been explained in the story. It's just this mysterious additional branch of Haki that we know is possible, we just don't know how. And most recently and notably, a similar unexplained use of Haki was debuted. It was unveiled that Haki can actually be stored in a knot for literally 800 years, and then released. If we look at Black Blades and the Haki knot, it appears that the new, mysterious, unexplained power that Oda has been writing in throughout post-time skip is permanent Haki. The ability to impart Haki in a way that its effects do not go away. What do I mean by that? So to begin with, let me give a simple proposition for how Gaban was able to damage Sommers. So the immortality that the God's Knights and the Gorosei have seems to be bestowed by Imu, and Imu's own immortality seems to have been implied to have been gained through a devil fruit, the Ope Ope no Mi. As such, on paper, standard Haki should counter the God's Knights and the Gorosei, but there's a unique issue here. We know that Haki was explained as the counter to devil fruit abilities. Haki can allow someone to bypass Logia users' intangibility. Haki can even stop devil fruit abilities from affecting you. However, the immortal soldier's regeneration presents a different problem, as their abilities kick in once they are no longer in contact with the enemy's Haki. Their regeneration takes place only after they've been attacked, and at that point the opponent's Haki is no longer flowing through them. This allows their own abilities to kick in the aftermath and regenerate from the damage. But what if the effect of the Haki attack that they'd been hit with did not go away? What if the point of contact where they were hit with Haki still left residual Haki behind? In that case, just like with all other Devil Fruit-based abilities, the God's Knights or the Gorosei's regeneration would not work, and such an effect could only happen if the opponent had the ability to leave behind permanent Haki, Haki that does not go away. If that is the case, then that would perfectly answer 4 major unexplained instances of Haki in the story: Joy Boy's Haki Knot, Black Blades, Enma, and even the Poneglyphs. To begin with, Joyboy's Haki knot was something that we'd never seen before, and we weren't given any real explanation at the time. We know that Haki can be infused into objects, we see weapon users do this all the time. However, Haki could seemingly only be infused into an object so long as the user was actively pouring their Haki into it. As soon as the user stopped pouring their Haki into an object, the object goes back to being a normal object. And yet, Joyboy was able to do something seemingly unique. He put his Haki into a knot, and the Haki did not go away. In fact, it stayed in the knot for practically 1,000 years. When the knot was released, Joyboy's Haki came exploding out, as powerful as ever. Joyboy had somehow poured Haki into this knot in a way that it would not leave. Now, if this is possible, to permanently infuse Haki, well, imagine if a character could attack by using Haki in this manner, leaving behind a Haki wound where the Haki will not leave, thereby permanently stopping any attempts at regeneration. We have more examples that indicate that this is the next level of Haki that we're heading towards. Black Blades. Maybe the most hotly debated mysterious Haki subject these days. These are likely the same exact type of ability as what Joyboy used with his Haki knot, permanent Haki infusion. As we know, Black Blades are infamously hard, as they've been permanently imbued with Haki. We know that turning blades permanently black is a skill that only the absolute greatest swordsmen are able to achieve, and it's something that Zoro will have to learn to do very, very soon as we are reaching the end of the story. I believe the method for doing so is also what has just been unveiled. Permanent Haki infusion. It is very likely this is in fact the very same ability that Joyboy used on this knot, putting Haki into an object permanently. The highest level of swordsmanship may involve Zoro learning to permanently place his Haki into his blades, turning them black forever. This could even explain why Kaido could still sense Oden's spirit in Enma. We know that Oden never turned Enma into a black blade, but it's very possible Oden wasn't that far off. This was very likely Oda's way of hinting at the concept of Haki becoming permanently imbued. Even though Oden had died decades ago, the residue of his Haki still lingered in the blade. Note, I'm not saying Zoro was using Oden's Haki or anything like that. It is explained that Enma brings out Zoro's own Haki. I'm simply making a separate point that some of Oden's own spirit is clearly stated to have been left in the blade. At the time, this was something that seemed impossible to explain, as we'd never heard of something like this before. But it makes sense when you realize that this was another hint that Haki can last even after the user is no longer pouring Haki into the object. This was essentially a small preview of what Joyboy's Haki knot was able to do in the following arc, and this was a soft hint at how Black Blades are made. Between Black Blades, Oden's residual Haki in Enma, and Joyboy's Haki knot, it has been clearly hinted at over and over to us that skilled Haki users can permanently impart Haki if they so choose. What Gaban just demonstrated is its first use in actual battle, to leave a Haki wound where the Haki does not go away, thereby stopping any regeneration or healing attempts. But first we have a huge announcement. The end is here. The World of One Piece Travel Poster Collection is finally at its conclusion. And so for the grand finale, we are opening up all the previous islands from the World Tour back for you this month so you can complete your collection, along with the final batch of islands you can get for your walls: Baratier, Arlong Park, Logtown, and Windmill Village. And for this grand finale, this month you can even pick any 2 posters you like from the entire collection, and get 2 more posters for free. If you're trying to catch up to the entire travel poster collection and there are just too many to choose from, you can even get the complete World of One Piece bundle and pick and choose 15 travel posters to get them at an even bigger discount. With this, the entire story of One Piece is complete. All the major islands we've seen throughout the story are available this month with major discounted bundles, so make sure to get your travel posters today. And finally, and most importantly, the concept of permanently imbuing Haki would explain the first and greatest mystery of One Piece: the Poneglyphs. The Poneglyphs are established to be indestructible. What is never explained is how. How are these rocks from 800 years ago just arbitrarily indestructible? No explanation is ever given. Is it the material the rocks are made of? If so, what material could this possibly be? We've been in Wano where the Poneglyphs originated and no such invincible stone material was ever referenced. And most importantly, if the Poneglyph stones are so unbreakable, then how the f*** did they chisel in all that messaging on the stones? How were the Kazuki clan able to just casually hammer entire novels of text into supposedly unbreakable rock? And then after that, for the next 800 years, no one from the world government, no matter how strong or powerful, was ever able to scratch these rocks. The simple answer is, the stones were made indestructible after the messaging was chiseled in. The Poneglyphs aren't indestructible rocks. They are messages written on normal stone. The stone simply becomes indestructible after Haki is infused into it. Think about it, all the Poneglyphs are in fact messages from Joy Boy. The Kazuki are the ones who wrote the text, but they were doing so for Joy Boy. Joy Boy has the strongest Haki in all of history, and what we've just been shown is that Joy Boy is capable of infusing his Haki into objects such that his Haki stays in them for literally 1,000 years. Essentially, Joy Boy needed to create messages that would last for eternity to be passed on to future generations. He had the smiths of Wano carve his messaging onto stones, and then Joy Boy imbued his Haki permanently into each stone one by one before having them spread across the globe. And because his Haki was permanently imbued in them, there was not a single thing any character on the planet could do to destroy these rocks. No Admiral, no Yonko, no Gorosei, not even Imu himself could destroy the messages that Joy Boy left behind. That is why we have never encountered a single damaged Poneglyph. They are all exactly the same as they were 800 years ago. And that is also precisely why the ability to read the Poneglyphs is so dangerous. The messages can never be erased, so the world government can only desperately try to erase anyone who can read the messages. And so it all ties together. The secret of the Poneglyphs is the same as the secret of the Haki knot, the same as the secret of the Black Blades, the same as the secret of Odin's presence in Enma. Haki can be permanently imbued. So far we've only been shown instances of the skill used on objects, but finally Gaban actually showed us this skill in combat, leaving a permanent Haki attack on Sommers. Exactly the same as what happened with Rayleigh and Kizaru. We had been shown plenty of examples of Haki throughout the story up till then, but Rayleigh was the first one to actually show that this ability can be used as an attack. And this first usage of Haki as an attack turned out to be the answer to the invincible Logia problem of pre-timeskip. In the exact same vein, Oda has been showing us plenty of examples of permanent Haki imbuing throughout the story. And now finally, Gaban is the first character to actually show that this ability can be used as an attack. And this first usage of permanent Haki imbuing as an attack turned out to be the answer to the invincible regeneration problem of post-timeskip. This is what we've been waiting for, a path for the Straw Hats to get stronger. Kaido told Luffy that there were still levels to Haki that he needs to achieve to reach Roger's level, and Roger's crewmate once again showed us that, just as Rayleigh did pre-timeskip. This is also the answer to how Zoro will learn to turn his blades permanently black as well. This gives us a route to many characters being able to defeat the Gorosei, the God's Knights, and even Imu when the final war begins. So let me know if you believe Gaban used permanent Haki infusion to damage Sommers in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video then definitely like and subscribe. And if you want to hear how I specifically believe blades can be made permanently black, you can listen to my weekly podcast that just dropped by becoming a member or by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description below.